time, fools.
Hey there, fools. Big T here, and I'm back with another video. Before we get started here, I just want to say I am currently away. I'm out of town right now, so my next couple of videos will probably be like this format here, just me kind of talking over gameplay, so be wary of that. And at some point you will see, I don't know if it's when I get back, but you'll be seeing my game room tour, so look forward to that. But this topic is about what else, Nintendo, because obviously I'm a huge Nintendo fan. That's what I mostly talk about on my channel here. And I want to talk about a major flaw with Nintendo. And it's, not necessarily a terrible flaw or like a bad flaw. I mean, a flaw means a flaw, right? But and it's not internet or their lack thereof, as that is one of their major flaws as well, is that you don't carry over system to system as far as consistency with their online infrastructure. And that's been a major issue for me, especially coming from Wii U, where I thought they made some steps, and then they seem to make some steps back with Switch. But that's not what we're going to talk about here today. We're going to talk about something that probably more people will care about, and that is games. Now you're thinking, how can Nintendo have a flaw in games? That is their number one strength. And that is very true. That is their number one strength. But there is an aspect about that is kind of a weakness for them. And, I guess you can kind of blame certain people at Nintendo for this. Mainly maybe Miyamoto, because he's the one that's talked about this from time to time. But specifically, I'm talking about their need to innovate. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. Obviously, it's one of the things I love a lot about Nintendo. But the flaw is that if they don't see something, or at least this is what they say, if they don't see something to where they could innovate or make some kind of leap forward in the gameplay or something like that with the game, an old franchise or any franchise, they will not make the game. Now, I feel like there's some dishonesty with that, because they have no problem making certain franchises over and over again. And yes, they do progress the gameplay and innovate in certain ways. I'm talking about Mario. Obviously, the Mario series continues on from 2D to now the 3D realm, and we still get 2D with things like Mario Maker, and hopefully we'll get some more 2D platformers in the Mario realm. But obviously you have stuff like The Legend of Zelda, which continues to get installments, and Pokemon, even though that's more of a Game Freak. But here's a game that hasn't really sold astronomically well, a game series I should say, but they continue to make new installments in. And this again is not Nintendo internal. Forget what their studio is called now. It used to be EAD. But this is not something they do. This is Xenoblade Chronicles. Now, the original Xenoblade Chronicles didn't sell astronomically well, and it should have on a system like the Wii, which was 100 million plus install base. But that didn't stop them from coming out with Xenoblade Chronicles for Wii U, and Wii U being their lowest selling home console of all time. I don't think it hit 1 million. I think it's around 800,000 or so. I don't know what the final numbers on that game are, but it didn't matter. On its weakest selling console, to one of its best selling consoles, they decided to go ahead and make another Xenoblade Chronicles. They made Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which is a really good game, and it didn't seem to matter as far as the game not selling as well. It's a smaller franchise in Nintendo, obviously made by Monolith Soft. But yeah, and there has been some changes in the gameplay as far as the battle system and whatnot, and the characters and all that. So in a game like that, where it's character dependent and it has a somewhat elaborate battle system, you can make changes to it to where it's like, okay, yeah, we'll make another game. We'll improve on this. We'll obviously change some story stuff here. That, is probably easier with a game like that. But then you have like, Mario Kart, which, Super Mario Kart and beyond, it's a kart racing game. At the end of the day, yeah, it has advanced because of technology from Super Mario Kart to Mario Kart 64. You go from 2D to 3D, although you still had 2D sprites, which was kind of weird, but it was a 3D tracks and whatnot. And then Double Dash made some changes with the two-seater mechanic, two-driver mechanic, but beyond like Double Dash, and they haven't really gone back to that style of Mario Kart, but they've made some changes here and there. Nothing astronomical. Obviously, they have the gravity feature in Mario Kart 8 and 8 Deluxe, and they've had flight and whatnot added with Mario Kart 7 and stuff. But it's still a racing around tracks game, and they continue to make those. They sell really well. So I feel like it's kind of lip service when they say they won't make a new game in a genre or in a series that has, somewhat slower sales. They say that they need some kind of innovation, some kind of new control thing. When you look at a game like a game series like Pikmin, which again hasn't changed gameplay wise all that much, some control differences, different worlds and characters. But it's basically the same type of gameplay. And that's a game series that also hasn't sold crazy, but sold well. I think Pikmin 3 hit over 1 million. Pikmin 1 and 2 also were over 1 million sellers. On Nintendo's two lowest install base consoles being the GameCube and the Wii U. So what am I talking about here? What's my main deal I'm talking about here? Obviously, I'm talking about games like Wave Race and FZero and maybe 1080p, but stuff like that where Nintendo fans have really wanted new installments. You can even throw Mother 3 in there. It's a little different, but we'll talk about that. But games like this where Miyamoto has come out and said, oh, I couldn't come up with a new this or a new that for the game. And you may have some evidence to that with the game like Star Fox. Nintendo themselves didn't make a new Star Fox until the Wii U, which they added on the mechanic of the cockpit view on your Wii U gamepad and stuff like that, and the gyro controls. So there is some truth, I'm sure, to what they're saying. It's not all just lip service, but a game like Mario Kart exists and it's basically a racer. So why can't we have a new F-Zero? You don't have to do anything bananas crazy to it. We just want to see F-Zero in HD with online play. You can make the innovation in the online play. I'm sure fans would love to see Nintendo get innovative with the online capabilities and features and stuff like that. I'm sure Nintendo fans would love to see that. So maybe you can make that the thing for the new F-Zero game, or bring in stuff that you didn't have in other installments of F-Zero, like oh my god, I can't even remember if GX had a track editor or not, but that was a plan to have that on the N64, and they did that only in Japan with the 64DD, where you can make your own tracks. That stuff like that I think is good enough to add to an F-Zero game. Put it online, have it be in HD. Add some more character stuff to it if you want, like you did with GX, although Sega made that. So it would truly be a new experience for Nintendo themselves to get their hands on it. I don't know if Sega today is capable of putting out a GX type of racer for Nintendo, but maybe find somebody else who could do it. Back in the day, they were looking at Criterion, I believe, to make an FZero game for Wii U, or was it Wii? I think it was for Wii, and that didn't really happen. So there are things you can do. Wave Race, again, we just want to see those awesome water physics in HD, beautiful water physics, and beautiful landscapes and beaches and rivers and all that cool stuff in HD, looking nice, and gorgeous. And that's all fans want. You don't always have to do something totally different, totally crazy. Sometimes we just want a new installment of something. Most of the time, that's all we want. When fans want a new game in a series, they don't really come with a lot of demands, or it has to have this or it has to have that. And we have some wants, especially when it comes to like Zelda. We want dungeons back, stuff like that. But we'll take it. We just want a new installment in a series. And like I said, Mother 3 is a little different because the creator himself just doesn't really want to do it. But Nintendo does have Mother 3 out there, and they can take that game, bring it into 3D, and give us our Earthbound 64. Like people like myself who were reading magazines and reading all little articles about that game, development and stuff. We finally be able to have it. That's all we want. Nintendo, you don't have to do something crazy. Sometimes you do something crazy and it turns people off, like with Star Fox Zero. A lot of people didn't like the controls setup, and sometimes I found it a little bit annoying because I wanted to do something here and there, but I got used to controls, and I pretty much enjoyed it. It felt really accurate, but a lot of people just didn't want to retrain their brains basically to play that way. So there's that. And that game didn't even have online play or anything like that, which probably would have been super weird anyway. When you have people using game pads, it would have been tougher to play that game anyway. And I'm sure computing power and all that stuff, bandwidth, factored into that. But again, sometimes Nintendo, all we want is a new installment, and we'd be very, 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 very happy with that. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Do you think Nintendo, especially for a franchise that's somewhat dormant, has to do something crazy drastic to it to get fans to jump in? Or are you just happy to have a new installment of a series that you've been longing for a long time? It doesn't have to be anything too crazy, just updated visuals and looking nice and slick and online play, and you're happy. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thank you again for watching and listening, and see you folks next time. Peace out.